That is fine. We have been on more calls this week with judges and courthouse personnel. Good morning, Dwayne. I see you're good morning down there. And it looks like we're getting closer to open. Whether or not how wise this is, we don't know. The talk is that we're going to be having dockets in June.
Okay.
And for our big bulk dockets where we do 99% of the evictions, it looks like the city is going to restrict these dockets in both time and size, and they're going to stagger them. So instead of having one big docket at 9:30 in the morning, they'll have 3 smaller dockets at 9:30, 10:30, and 11:30. And when I say smaller, I mean they're talking about only allowing 10 cases per docket. We are vigorously trying to get them to change their minds on these, because if we have 10 cases on a docket, 5 are not going to show up. And a couple more might be something that we dismissed, or we're going to continue, or that kind of thing. So we're trying to encourage them to see that if we have 10 cases, that might only be 5 people, and they have some big courtrooms down there. The one judge seems very frightened and upset by this. The other judge seems to take it more with some equanimity. We've suggested using some older courtrooms that aren't used right now that are really large for part of this. We've suggested that they might want to exclude non-parties, so you can't bring your whole family to court, which sometimes they do. Of course, if someone's disabled or if they need to bring a child with them or whatever, that probably has to happen. But that's what we're looking at. And in the county, our judge, who we appear in front of, I think trusts us pretty much. And I think they're going to do the staggered dockets there too. And I think we'll be the first one in the day. And I think he might give us more leeway as to how many people we can have on. But the bottom line is, we're not 100% sure when they're going to start having dockets, but it's going to be mid-June. And because these dockets are going to be smaller and they're going to be staggered, you probably should be thinking about filing lawsuits now so that you're not way at the end of the line. And our second approach is going to be, when we file the lawsuits, we're going to ask our landlords to help us, and maybe we're going to be sending something from us or from the court, but we're going to try to see if we can work those judgments, those cases out ahead of time. Because if we can get a consent judgment worked out before we use a court slot for a lot of the cases, that'll be a lot better. And again, I think we said this last week, our suggestion to the landlords is going to be generous with the payment arrangements if you have it secured with a consent judgment. It's going to take some people a while to come back from this, but they may do it. And if you have the consent judgment, we can file that, right away without waiting for one of these coveted court slots. And then the second to that is that the second part to that is that the sheriffs are already way behind executions, set-outs that were filed before the shutdown. And we don't know how quickly the sheriffs are going to get caught up. So you don't want to make the combination of having to wait for a court slot, get a consent judgment, have them default on it, and then be at the back of the line for the sheriff. We're concerned about how far behind that they are with that. We are at least 40 or 50 cases behind on sheriff executions in the county. And that's just us. And that's from before the shutdown.
Wow.
So, and, the sheriff usually responds very quickly and sets our things. So we're concerned about that. I did ask them on the call yesterday, for those of you who might want to file your own lawsuits, right now they're telling me you really can't do it, because right now they're only accepting e-filing, and they don't let non-lawyers e-file new lawsuits. Possibly they're going to start letting you into the courthouses again on May 18th, but I wouldn't swear by that. But that was talked about a little bit. And then in the city, you would go to the cage. In the county, I'm not sure where you go, but there's places. But I don't know. That could be a slow process with a long line. If we can help you with e-filing, we will help you. We like to get paid, but we'll
Mhm.
do the best we can for everybody. I'm going to hand it to Christine now for what she has to add.
Okay.
I basically have nothing to add. We do have a town hall meeting, I think they're calling it, with St. Louis County judges next, is it Thursday, Kathy? Am I right? It's either Wednesday or Thursday. So hopefully we're going to find out more specifically with St. Louis County and our county judges to be able to give a little information than the vague stuff we're giving you now. They, as far as what we can expect from the county once they start having dockets. I think it's going to be the same thing. It is the city where we'll start having the dockets in the county. We just don't know what they're going to look like in terms of how many cases we're going to allow to have on, et cetera.
Mhm.
And I just want to reiterate what Kathy said about if you're considering to file now, only because, especially if they continue to do this limited number of cases, we already have cases that should have been on, that were filed really in February, that should have had a March court date that got canceled. So all of those cases, plus what's been filed since the beginning of March, we're
Mhm.
now that far behind. So if they're going to limit it to 10 cases or 20 cases,
Mhm.
it's still, even if you filed now, you may not get a court date until July. So, and we're really hoping they don't limit it to only 10 cases, just given the number of people that
Mhm.
typically show up anyway. But that's all I know. Same thing about any sheriff executions. They're still prohibited from carrying those out based on the St. Louis County presiding judge's administrative order. We don't, hopefully next Thursday when we have this town hall meeting, we're going to get more information with regard to that.
Mhm.
I'm still trying to, I've got a situation where a client has a situation where we would typically file an immediate eviction. It's under a specific statute when there is either crime, drugs, something with putting people in immediate danger
Mhm.
that we can get in. I'm still not getting a straight answer from my judge in the county about being able to get that filed, get a hearing date, because that's a specific situation where I can get an immediate hearing date. And then if I can get a judgment, be able to get the sheriff to go out there. But right now, they're not giving me any straight answers. So we're hoping to have better updates for you as we're moving through May, that is a little more specific. But that's all I've got right now.
Excellent.
Get back to Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to hand you over to Chris. Chris might have the best news of any of us because I think St. Charles is actually moving forward a little more quickly than other jurisdictions.
So I've been able to file in St. Charles and get a June 5th court date, which is the earliest court date of any of that I've been able to get from any of the ones I filed recently. Jefferson was giving me cases in July. And so St. Charles is thinking they're going to be a little bit more proactive, though I don't have a final answer on that because I haven't talked to my clerk since we had they had a meeting this week, and I was going to talk to her today to see if I could get a more firm update to make sure those dates are going to happen. They're also going to be staggering and giving special dates to certain attorneys. So I don't know for sure how it's going to work out, but St. Charles might be sooner than the other ones. The only other real update I have that they didn't talk about already was the city sheriff. I did talk to the city sheriff, and they told me that as soon as the judge gives them the go-ahead to start doing evictions again, I would probably guess sometime in June, if not maybe the end of May, they're going to take ones that were already scheduled and just put them back into the queue in that order. And then they'll start taking them as they come in, and it's going to be a backlog. There's no doubt about it. So if you have judgments out there that you need to get the sheriff on, go ahead and file, go downtown and file them starting, I think, as soon as you can get in the building, which I think is the 18th, and get in line. Or, you can call us and we can file the I can file the execution for you, and, that wouldn't be, much to that. So, there's not a whole lot of news other than the fact that they're thinking about it and they're getting a framework. So, Of course, everything can change next week if we have a big bunch of new cases and, they freeze up again. So hopefully that doesn't happen. So, but yeah, if you have any questions, give me a call. We can try talking about different options. I'm loving a lot of people are having tenants that are causing more problems as they're stuck at home and realize they can't be evicted for being jerks. And so, you want to start getting, if you have those kind of people who are, who are causing problems and you want them gone, maybe start doing your termination notices, because you can start pushing them out, as you can. Because obviously, my position is you want to work with the people who you can, who are good payers, particularly up through the, COVID, because once things bounce back, they're going to probably be good payers again. But the jerks, you want to get out. And so starting with the termination won't put you behind the 8 ball once you once the courts really do open up. So that's all I've got. I'll give you back to Kathy, I guess.
Okay, so again, if you're working with us or if you're working with another attorney and you have an eviction that's already on file, a case that's already on file, but you haven't had a court date yet, you don't have a judgment, our best advice is to try to get with that tenant and get with your attorney and get a payment plan worked out and make it in the form of a consent judgment so that you'll be that many more steps down the line. I don't know what else we have.
The affidavit they're going to have.
Oh, the affidavit. Yes. Let's talk about that for a minute. The CARES Act. Hello? Are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Because all I'm seeing, I lost your picture, Jim.
Somebody came on without a, here, we'll mute 'em here.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. They unmuted themselves. There we go.
Okay, the CARES Act prohibits evictions for properties that have government-backed loans or for Section 8 tenants until after the end of July. There are some different interpretations of this act. Legal aid and the volunteer lawyers from the law schools interpret it differently than we do. But the bottom line is probably a lot of you have evictions that aren't going to be covered by the CARES Act. What the judges are wanting to see is an affidavit from you saying this. We have a couple of form affidavits. We have one from Greene County. We have one that Chris drafted. So we'd be happy to send those to you if you are doing evictions on your own. And if you are doing evictions with us or with another lawyer, you might want to make sure those, we're just trying to get those on file now so that we can, if we can, so we can get them out of the way.
Okay.
And the judges won't question us, or maybe not give us a better court date because we don't have this CARES Act affidavit filed.
Okay.
That'll only be through the summer, and
I
then
think the courts are going to have their own, so they can do what they're going down.
yeah. Chris thinks that the courts are drafting their own affidavits, so you might be able to get one when you go down there as well.
Excellent. Okay. So it sounds like time is of the essence right now. If you have anything that's important.
Well, we think. I mean, the coronavirus cases could rise again, and they could snatch it all back. So
Right.
would have spent your money not to get much. But again, if we could get the suit on file and get the consent judgment, we think we're going to be way ahead of the game whenever things return to quasi-normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great information. It's a really good update, Kathy.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we appreciate it. I guess is there anybody have any questions? I think you did a good job, bringing us all up to par here.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like sometimes it's just, it doesn't seem like a lot, but we did feel like we made some progress this week. If we can hold on to that progress, it'll be good.
Yeah, that's a lot of progress, and it's a lot of good information.
And let me say something else about foreclosures. Foreclosures, for the most part in Missouri, are non-judicial. We do not have to go to court for them. I did one in Jefferson County last week. There was a lizard because so few people were there outside the courthouse. There was a lizard running around. But if you have a note and deed of trust that's going delinquent, we can probably still foreclose on that. So you can call me to talk about it.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Are Dwayne wants to know if the courts are looking to require masks in the courtroom in the near term.
Yes, they are. And I happen to know someone who works for the mayor in the city, and she was instructed to order like 1 million masks, for use in the courtrooms and other places. As with anyone else, we don't know if they're going to be able to get them or you know, what they're gonna do. I mean, I think those are things that you hand them out to the person and you're not getting them back. So
Hmm.
we are planning to be masked and gloved. We believe that the courts will require that. We hope that you have some that you've gotten in case you need to come to court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jennifer, let's see, I guess we gave termination notice for the end of March, and do we need to give a termination notice again for the end of June?
Is that Jennifer Wang?
Yes,
Is her name?
yes.
Call Christine and talk to her about it. It's not you? You're not Jennifer Wang?
No, Chris.
Oh, okay. Chris Bosler says, to
Jefferson
call
County.
Jennifer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, if we already did a termination and it was up at the end of March and you did not accept April rent, we could file suit if they're not in there. And let me remind everybody about the notice of abandonment again. If you're pretty sure they're gone, that's something that we do without going through the court. It's a 10-day procedure. And if they're really gone, you know, then you can take possession if that's appropriate. We like to go over those facts case by case. So call Christine if it's a county one, or Chris if it's the other counties, to see if you're eligible for a notice of abandonment.
Hmm, okay. All right, any other questions here?
Anybody know where I can get an illegal haircut? Asking for a friend.
If so, they're not saying. Everybody's doing their own right now, and you can tell.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'm brave enough.
That's funny. Well,
Okay, guys.
all right. Well, thank you very much. Would you like to go ahead and give your contact information again, Kathy?
Yes. Our phone number is, hey, they're misbehaving behind my back here. 314-962-1115. And Christine's extension is 13 and Chris is 15 and I'm 11. And you might not be able to get us this afternoon because we're having the second thing in our phasing in of fiber cable, and I'm not sure what's going to go on with that. So.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kathy. We really appreciate the updates, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week and with some more updates.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you so
everybody.
much. All right.